Hello, everyone. It has been quite a while since we checked in on our friends at Islamic Pulse, but I figured I would go take a look for old time's sake. And when I saw that a new video of theirs was titled, "Can You Hold a Cactus?" I knew I just had to know more. So, let's take a look.
We live in a very difficult era right now. It's a very stressful era right now. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're fed up, you feel a little bit hopeless, and you're wondering for some direction.
Well, I was under the impression that it was religion that provided all of the direction that one needs. So, aren't you just preaching to the choir, so to speak? Or is this a sales pitch to the skeptical consumer?
Start with the person in the mirror. Ask yourself, have I become complacent? Have I become spiritually lazy?
Ah, so if someone is angry or frustrated with the state of the world, then it is a flaw of the self. It is a sign of weakness in the faith.
I'm trying to paint a little bit of a picture here for all of you of where we are right now, which has already been prophesized centuries ago.
Right. Where we are right now was prophesized centuries ago, which means that you already know what is going to happen, which means that there is no free will. So if you are angry, but you call yourself a believer, then your anger is proof of your lack of faith. Because none of this should surprise those that have taken the scriptures to heart.
The companions are sitting there around the Holy Prophet. He says to the companions, can you imagine that your wives and your children will commit sin openly?
I thought that even imagining sin was itself a sin. You know, thought crimes, violation of faith through the wrong notions and ideas. Because it sounds a bit like a trap laid at the companion's feet on the prophet's part. Can you imagine your family committing sin? Well, isn't imagining that not something we should do, O prophet?
They were shocked. They say, Ya Rasulullah, will that actually happen? He says it will actually be worse than that. There'll come a time where your spouses and your children will be encouraged to commit sin.
By the poltergeist? Or do you mean by the media? Media like, I don't know, YouTube videos?
They were again shocked. Ya Rasulullah, will this happen? He said there'll come a time where what is considered to be virtuous will become vicious, and what was considered to be vicious will become virtuous. Do we not live in that era today?
Disney Channel's first gay kiss. Well, it looks more like a kissing orgy, really, but that aside. So, being homosexual is an example of viciousness. It's a promotion of something not virtuous, and your prophet saw this coming. All right, for the sake of argument, stipulated. This is what you believe. So, what? What do you intend to do about it?
Are we not here right now? Do we not live in an era of the glamorization of sin?
Well, given that fundamentalist Islamic doctrine has prohibitions against women showing too much skin, as well as against both singing and dancing for pleasure and enjoyment, I would say that every era since the Bronze Age has glamorized what Islam considers to be sin.
Where this era of social media I'm not against social media. I'm on social media. But the idea is that sometimes these types of tools allow us to give us this courage for us to announce and confess our sin openly, take pictures of ourselves in areas we shouldn't be at, and not only take that picture, but plaster it all over our social media and then wait for someone to comment on it.
So is the lesson here, like you mentioned earlier, that people will sin openly? Is the lesson that if you're going to be a sinner, just don't make a big fuss about it? Because that sure sounds like what you are saying. Also, I am still waiting for this cactus.
Or I've seen individuals who their Facebook status is the latest hip-hop song that they like. Check this link out, and they actually share the link for the world to see. And in this era of the glamorization of sin, what is our duty?
Yes, the mortal sin of sharing a hip-hop song you like. I don't remember which circle of hell you get sent to for that one. Is it Motown? But yes, do tell us, in this age of sinfully social media and heretical hip-hop, what is your duty as one of the faithful?
Look at a couple of traditions from our holy prophets to understand what era we live in now. He's sitting amongst the companions. He says, Mata alqa ikhwani, when will I meet my brothers? They say, Qalu alasna ikhwani, are we not your brothers? He says, Bal antum ashabi, no, you're my ashab. He says, Wa ikhwani alladhina amanu bi wa lam yarawni wa ana ilayhim bil ashwaq. The brothers that I refer to are those who believe in me, they have iman in me, they have faith in me, they will die for me, sacrifice for me, they love me, have compassion for me, wa lam yarawni, they haven't seen me.
Right. They're just companions, people who hang out with him. Unless or until they are willing to sacrifice their lives for him, he won't consider them his brothers. There is a condition on his love, and it is complete and utter fealty. That sounds perfectly healthy.
And when you look inside the shara of this hadith, he's talking about those who will reside and exist before the arrival of the Mahdi. That's you and I.
Well, the Mahdi, as I understand it, is the chosen of God, a Messiah-like figure or figures. Christianity has the hope of a returned Christ, while Islam awaits a somewhat more anonymous person or persons to arrive. Because, really, no matter what we believe, we're all just waiting on the end of the world.
Our sixth Imam, again, sitting amongst his ashab, he says that how many of you, this is now our sixth Imam asking his ashab, how many of you will be willing to hold a cactus in their hand?
Aha! The cactus. Finally, what is the lesson of the cactus?
He says the era before the arrival of my son, the preservation and protection of the iman of our followers will be as difficult as holding a cactus in the palm of your hand.
Okay, so the sales pitch is this. I will only love you if you pledge your life to me, and the protection of the faith that would bind you to me for eternity is going to be painful and unpleasant until some mythical figure appears. Someday. Wow, what a deal. Where can I sign up?
All of us, alhamdulillah, have our deen, we have our iman, we have our faith. It should be solid. Where we are lacking, where there is a distance, where there has to be somewhat of a discussion, is in this era when there is a constant attack on our faith. What do we need to do?
Yes, the Disney Channel and hip-hop are attacking and threatening the faith. So, whatever will you do about it?
There has to be two parallel missions. One is of the increasing of dhulm and tyranny and oppression And one, of course, is the building of the ashab of our Imam. If he needs an enemy to fight, he needs companions to be beside him while he fights. And his zuhur will not happen until both parties and paths are ready. The zalimeen, the oppressors, are doing their parts, unfortunately. Are we doing our parts to build that army that he needs?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a second. You move from Disney and Facebook and hip-hop to dead children? That is a bit of a leap there. And there must be two parallel missions, one of the oppressor and one of the faithful. And the appearance of your Messiah, or the reappearance of your prophet, I'm not sure which, will not happen until both sides are ready. So, you want this conflict. You crave this enemy. Because without this war, your prophecy cannot be fulfilled. So, is the real message here, don't be angry with the state of things today, because they are all signs of good things to come? Well, doesn't that mean that gay kissing is something that you should be celebrating? Because it heralds good things to come?
If not, what are those factors that blocks our spiritual progress? One of them is called spiritual complacency. We are creatures of habits. We live on routine. And sometimes the problem is this, that routine nature of ours, that habitual nature of ours trickles into our ibadats, into our worship. Where now we are worshiping Allah, which was at one moment possibly for our spiritual uplifting and our mi'raj towards Allah, our ascension, but then it becomes part of the process.
Yes. Never, ever be bored by the incessant demand of constant praise, subservience, and self-policing of your life based on an old book. Being angry is bad. Being bored is bad. Be happy. Always be happy. Even if you have to lie to yourself about what you really feel. And while you are happy, also prepare for war.
The sincerity slowly fades away, the act remains. And in the process, we convince ourselves the amounts that I do for the deen of Islam is enough. I know people who are far worse than me. I know people who don't even pray salat. I know those who don't even come to these programs. And we fall into traps. And the traps that we fall into are prisons that we create for ourselves.
Yes, self-imposed prisons are bad. Only the prison of thought and action as dictated by the book is legitimate. Think not for yourself. Think only as the book allows you to.
One prison is what? I'm in the West, Maulana. Don't ask me to do anything more. This is not Iraq, it's not Karbala, Najaf, it's not Qom, it's not Mashhad. Our test, our fitna will happen here eventually as well. Don't let your guard down for a moment.
Don't let your guard down, even and especially in the West.
The fact that after high school, I'm not a drug addict, I'm not a father, I'm not an inmate, I'm not an alcoholic, that's, to me, is success. And that's the bar for us. That's the bar for us.
That sounds like a pretty good place to be just after high school. But all of that isn't enough, is it?
And then we set the bar so low that when we reach that bar, we relax at that moment. We're good. Mulana, forget the fact that it's enough. It's good enough, man. I'm good for heaven. You become complacent. What's called spiritual laziness.
Getting an education, making responsible choices for your health and your future, and being glad for having had the foresight and self-respect to begin this adult phase of your life cleanly. This is spiritual laziness. Got it.
And we convince ourselves that what I'm doing is good. And sometimes we lose sight of the fact that God has something else planned for you. God actually has hope in you to be somebody greater.
Greater. Greater than a well-adjusted, productive individual. Greater like a warrior in an army meant to bring about the arrival of the Messiah and the end of the world? That kind of greater?
You lower yourself down to the level of these minimal qualities and say, look, at least I'm not that, I'm good. And you've taken God's potential inside of you and you've washed it away. We've become spiritually complacent as individuals.
Yes, we get it. Just being a decent person is not good enough. So what will make us better in the eyes of those who are telling us that we are not good enough? That we are only companions and not brothers?
That's why if you look at the revolution of the Islamic Republic, the reason why it is so successful is because of what? The fact that the late and the great Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayh, he built first on the individual basis. Otherwise, that nation, and during those days, there was no ummid and no hope that they would have such a revolution. He built the awareness of the people to such a level over years and years of tarbiyah and nature and nurture and everything. And then when they were ready, he would then say, come out of your homes and face the Shah of your time.
The Iranian Islamic Revolution. The establishment of a violent, oppressive theocracy. This is the grand example of right action that is being encouraged in, I can only assume from what is being said, high school students. That they need to come out of their homes and face the Shah of your time. The Disneys and the Facebooks and the hip-hop music. That to enjoy life and to use technology, to stay on the straight and narrow path, these are not good things. This is complacency at best and awful sins at worst. The correct thing to do is to fight and to lay down your life against Disney and Facebook and hip-hop and the Shah of your time. And by this, you will bring about the end times and make the world a better place. And of course, none of this is a public call to violent action. The images of war and the encouragement of a complacent flock to rise up and to undertake armed revolution against a secularist society, that's just fine. Yes, it truly is a religion of peace. As always, thank you for watching.